Don't just assume that where you live in terms of taxes is efficient. I'll give you an example of a comparison between the United Kingdom and Singapore. So I live in Singapore and I used to live in the UK. I've got businesses all over the world and I chose to move to Singapore. Not just because of tax reasons. I pay tax in Singapore. I could have set up somewhere where there's zero tax. There's plenty of countries that offer zero tax. You can go to Dubai, register a business in the Dubai International Financial Center, the DIFC, put all your sales, all your revenue, all your profit through your Dubai company and pay zero for 50 years. Now that's fine if you don't want to live there. If you actually want to live there, what's the important thing is, what deal do you get in return for the tax that you pay? Well, if you pay nothing in these countries around the world, what you find is, in return, you do get nothing. So go to any of the Caribbean islands where you can set up companies and pay 0% tax. What do you get? Dirt roads, no schools, no hospitals, just crap public services. You can't live there. They're just tax havens, right? So it's different if you actually want to move there, okay? So I think Singapore is the best place in the world because it's the best deal in the world in terms of tax efficient structures and lifestyle. So let's say you have a service company and you work for yourself. And you have a UK company and a Singapore company. And you invoice a client 100. In the UK, what ends up in your pocket if you have a gross margin business of 50%? If you're the entrepreneur, what ends up in your pocket? Out of 100, with a 50% gross margin business. Anyone have a guess? Who said 55? You've obviously not ever worked for yourself in the UK. Who's self-employed in the UK? What do you think you get? 40? No, nowhere near. Try 12. Because what's happening, you invoice 100, right? Your VAT is 20%. Sales tax. If you're on a 50% gross margin business, you claim 10 back. So you're left with 90. Okay? Then you're 45 because your gross margin is 50%. Then you pay your corporation tax 20. So what are you left with? 36. You leave 10% in the business. You can't take out all that 36. If you have a bad 1 or 2 months in the next quarter, you need to have working capital in your business at all time, right? So you leave in 10 all the time. So you're left with 25, 26. Then you pay yourself. Now let's say you're a higher rate taxpayer. You've got a very successful business. What's the highest rate of income tax in the UK? How much? 45. Is it 45 now? What's national insurance? 13. I thought it was 11. 12. Okay. I don't know, I've not been here for a while, but it's not gone down, right? And by the way, one of the costs of the business in the UK is that you actually have to pay employers' national insurance. So whoever you hire, you add it on, you have to write a check. It's a tax on jobs. It's crazy. So you're left with your 25, 26. You're a high rate taxpayer, 45% tax plus 12% national insurance. So you're at 57. You're left with 12, 13. Now that is a fucking good business. That's a 50% gross margin successful company with a product or service that sells. And the owner is in the higher income tax bracket because they're earning a few £100,000 a year or whatever, right? What if you're just a regular company on the high street, like a flower shop or a hairdresser's or a nail bar or whatever you go when you walk down the high street? For you to make like 100 grand a year after tax, you're going to have to turn over millions and millions of pounds. It's a joke. It's an absolute joke. So let's have a look at the other option, Singapore. You take exactly the same company and just put all the revenue and profit through Singapore. What do you keep in Singapore out of 100? What do you reckon? It's a 50% gross margin business, right? So it has to be lower than 50. Right? What do you think it is? It's low 40s. So essentially what's happening is if you run exactly the same company through Singapore versus the UK, 40 years of work in the UK is equivalent to 10 years work in Singapore. So you can have 4 careers in Singapore, and that equals 1 career in the UK. Now, when I was living here, it just became too much, because you just get up every morning and you realize that you work from January the 1st every year till the end of October, paying for everyone else to live. That's basically what you do. And that's if you're successful. So if you don't want capital here, that's fine. Make it difficult for people like me. What do? Well, we don't care. We've got money. We just go to Heathrow. It doesn't hurt me because I just leave. The people it really hurts are the middle class and the working class. That's who it really hurts, because it hollows out the productive capacity of the economy and capital leaves. So factoring 1 to 4 UK versus Singapore, running exactly the same company. And this is what the UK doesn't realize. The UK doesn't compete anymore just on business. It also competes on lifestyle. So if you've got money, you can move anywhere in the world, right? First of all, why would you be in the UK and run your company from the UK? It's just dumb. It's just really dumb. But on top of that, you have to live for 7 months in darkness and freezing cold shit weather. So you spend your year in the dark, in the cold, paying for everybody else to live. And this is what the UK doesn't realize. People don't realize that in this global economy, if you're not competitive, you die. And the UK is not just uncompetitive on taxes and attracting capital into the country and attracting entrepreneurs. It used to be, but it's not any longer. It doesn't compete on lifestyle. It's a crap place to live if you've got money. And there's nothing you can do about it. For example, like if you live the best lifestyle, say in West London, right? And you're a billionaire. And you come downstairs and you get in your roller and you've got your driver. Well, unless you've got wings, you're not avoiding the traffic. Like there's certain thing, and the weather, there's no amount of money that can buy you out of that crap, right? You're still gonna have to experience what everybody else experiences. But there's so many places in the world, and Singapore is just one of them, where if you've got the capital and you want the lifestyle, the UK can't compete with it. That's why there's so much money there. Does anyone know what the balance sheet of Singapore is as a country? Like the assets that the government holds. $1 trillion of assets. And the population's 5.5 million. They produce nothing. They have no agriculture. They have no commodities. They produce nothing. $1 trillion and 5.5 million population. I mean, this is what you really have to understand, like there's a big world out there and you are getting a shit deal. Very shit deal. There's nothing negative about wanting to pay less tax. I've never understood it. There's nothing moral about, and it's called effective tax rates, okay? Where you add up all taxes and say, what do I really pay? What actually goes into my pocket? When you have an effective tax rate for an entrepreneur that runs a successful 50% gross margin business of 88%, capital is going to leave your country. And it's been going on for years. It's just going to go somewhere else where capital gets a better return. And the rich don't suffer. The rich just move.